Hi everybody, I'm Aaron Hernandez and this is the second episode of What's in the Deck Box. This week we have Danyul Jackson here with us. Danyul, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Now Danyul is a Death Shadow aficionado. You've been playing this deck a really long time, Danyul. What brought you to it?
Well, it's the first deck that I picked up in Modern, and I was excited to play it because it's one of the only decks where bolting yourself can sometimes be the correct line.
That's kind of an unusual line. Why would you be bolting yourself, for those who don't know?
So the mainstay of the deck, the namesake of the deck, is the card Death Shadow. It gets larger as your life total gets lower, so sometimes bolting yourself makes your Death Shadow lethal.
Like I said, you've been playing this deck a long time. You played it in any bigger events?
Well, the most recent event that I played in was SCG Columbus, which was last weekend. It was triple Modern, but I've played it in a lot of open tournaments for the last few years, PTQs, IQs. I've got a couple of top 8s, a couple of top 32s. So yeah, it's been a good deck for me.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about the numbers that you're playing with right now.
Okay, mechanic. So you can play a 5/5 on turn 2 very consistently, or your Death Shadow can be a 6/6, a 7/7 very early in the game, and that's a hard threat for people to deal with.
Yeah. Now there are some different versions of this deck. Is the reason you're playing Grixis for the Battle Rages?
The Battle Rage is probably the most important part of the Grixis build. You could play Jund, but then you would lose the blue cards as well. Temur Battle Rage is probably one of the centerpieces of the Death Shadow deck, though.
Okay, so we have to enable our threats. We have Thought Scours, Serum Visions, Mishra's Bauble, and Street Wraith.
So Street Wraith is probably one of the most important ones. It helps both your threats get on the board. It lowers your life total. It fills your graveyard, and it helps you dig through the cards. Thought Scour and Mishra's Bauble are efficient ways to get cards into the graveyard while replacing themselves. And then Serum Visions is just a modern all-star. Being able to draw and scry through your deck is important.
So only 3 Mishra's Baubles and 3 Serum Visions?
So some versions of the deck play more Mishra's Baubles or Faithless Looting, but I decided that I wanted to go with the 4 Thought Scours and the 3 Mishra's Baubles this weekend. There are a lot of fun tricks that you can do with Mishra's Bauble and Street Wraith, or Mishra's Bauble and Thought Scour. Looking at the top of your own deck, deciding if you want the card, fetching it away, drawing it with Street Wraith, along those lines. So it helps you control the top of your deck very similarly to Serum Visions.
And then so we obviously got to kill our opponent's stuff. We've got Lightning Bolts, Terminate, 1 Dismember, and 2 Fatal Pushes.
So the Lightning Bolts are both for killing your opponent's creatures and for bolting yourself if you need to. Terminate and Dismember are a split now. It used to be 2 Dismembers because Dismember is, again, a cheap spell that lets you hurt yourself while killing their creatures. But Primeval Titan has been on an uptick lately along with other larger creatures, so Terminate is a concession to that. And then ever since Fatal Push was printed, it's probably one of the most important cards in Modern.
It's just too efficient.
Yeah.
And then, so we have a few more pieces of interaction. We've got our Stubborn Denials, Thought Seizes, and Inquisitions.
Yeah, so this is the Disruption package. Inquisition helps get rid of early threats, make sure the way is clear for your Death Shadows and your Gurmag Anglers. Thought Seize takes your opponent's powerhouse cards while, again, damaging yourself. And Stubborn Denial is one of the most efficient counters in the game if you have large creatures, which we provide.
And then obviously Snapcaster to run it all back.
Yeah, Snapcaster just helps you recast all of the spells. You're digging through stuff with Thought Scour, so if something ends up in the graveyard that you needed, then you've got a couple of extra copies with Thought Scour, or with Snapcaster.
Now, one of the best reasons to play Death Shadow, in my opinion, is you take the fullest advantage of the Fetch Shock mana base.
So, yeah, Death Shadow being a deck that wants to hurt itself, you have 10 fetches and 7 fetchable mana sources, 5 of which are shocks. It's a very tight mana base. There's not a lot of room for mistakes, but it's an efficient mana base like the rest of the deck. It thrives on efficiency.
Yeah, so like you said, we have 10 fetches, 2 of each Watery Grave and Blood Crypt, 1 Steam Vents, 1 Island, and 1 Swamp to go get.
Yep. So one of the only problems that we have with the deck is if people destroy our mana base. So if you're looking for a way to beat Death Shadow, go after the mana base.
Sounds good. Let's talk about the sideboard. We've got 3 Surgical Extractions as Graveyard Hate.
Yeah, so this weekend in particular, I played this build. The Surgical Extractions are for your graveyard decks, Dredge, the Phoenix decks that's popped up recently, You just want to be able to interact with your opponent's graveyard, and it's a 0 mana spell that costs you 2 life, so it does everything that we want it to do.
And then for bigger threats, we have the Disdainful Stroke.
So Disdainful Stroke is for the big mana decks, like you said, Tron, Scape Shift, some of those decks.
Another way to deal with prime time.
Yeah, another way to deal with prime time, Ugin, pesky things like that. Moving down the line, Grim Lavamancer is for your creature matchups. Spirits and humans are still very popular decks.
Presumably also the home for the Anger of the Gods.
The Anger of the Gods is there as kind of a catch-all for the creature decks. It's also really good against Dredge. Kolaghan's Command, Abrade, these are universally good against a lot of decks. They have a lot of consistency for hurting yourself. I've used Kolaghan's Command to shock myself and get back a Street Wraith to finish the game. And Abrade is just a very powerful card.
It's 4 damage right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that. And then we have four cards that are just finishing out the playsets.
So the third Fatal Push, the fourth Bolt, the fourth Snapcaster, those are all some of your matchups. You just want to streamline your deck to be as efficient as possible, and those 4 cards do it. So
awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And that's what's in Daniel's deck box. Daniel, thanks for coming out. If people want to hear more from you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at DanielJ and on Twitch at DJXN85. I stream regularly.
And once again, I'm Aaron Hernandez, and this has been What's in the Deck Box. We'll be back at you next week with another Deck Tech.